Okay, I think we're going to wait for the. I'll start without the mic. Can you hear me in the back? All right, great. So first of all, thanks everybody for coming out. It's a very nice day out, so I know that you sacrificed being inside for that. But first of all, so welcome here. How many of you this is your first IoT Central New York City event? Okay, wow. So quite a large percentage of you are newcomers. And I'm just curious, how did some of you hear about IoT Central, the Meetup? Meetup.com. Meetup.com. Anything different from Meetup.com? Okay, cool.
What were they searching for? That question, what were they searching for on Meetup.com?
Sure. What were you searching for on Meetup.com? It's a good question. Okay, hardware-related meetups. Internet of Things, makes sense. Testing, 1, 2, 3, great. All right, thank you very much, Chris. So, so first of all, welcome everybody, as I said. And tonight's session, we have visitors from California. So we welcome Peter Hoddie and Rachel Bennett and Derek Huang. And you'll see and hear from them in just a few minutes, but we thank them for coming. So the title of tonight's talk is really Developing with IoT Platforms, with Kinoma and Mediatek each presenting. And these are really leaders in the space, so I think we're really lucky to have representatives from these companies here. So first of all, I'd like to have a shout out to our ongoing sponsor, which is Atmel. So Dan Ujvari is our local Atmel representative, and he has been very helpful in sponsoring the IoT Central Meetup over the past year. So we're thankful to them, and you can find more information at atmel.com on what they offer. And we have a big thank you also to our host, which is WorkBetter. This office space here is called WorkBetter, and I'd like to invite up Chris Van Hoy. Just before I introduce you, I'd like to say that WorkBetter was the home of our very first meetup was here, right in this place. So from the beginning, they've been very supportive, and so we are very appreciative to Chris Van Hoy and Harsh Mehta and others at WorkBetter. So, Chris?
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Chris Van Hoy. If anybody has any questions about space where you can work.
It's okay. She's worried about the mic. It's fine.
Oh, okay. If anybody has any questions about space where you can work, please reach out to me. I'm Chris. If tonight's not a good night, it's chris@workbetter.us. I will answer all emails very happily. We have 5 locations in New York, 1 in Chicago on the 84th floor of the Willis Tower, if anybody's ever in Chicago. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Chris. WorkBetter. Okay, and special thanks goes out to Michael Wang, and his Twitter handle's up there. Michael's been very instrumental as an organizer of the New York City Internet of Things meetup, and so where's Michael? He may actually, oh, he's right here. So if you have any suggestions, recommendations, feel free to see me or Michael. Also, Bart Shappy is here. Bart, who's also been with us since near the beginning. And Bart's here. He may be taking pictures. You'll see him around. And Naveen Mishra should also be here. So thanks to these people for helping with this event. So we're running about a half hour. We're starting about a half hour later, which means it will go quickly. But basically, first, Kinoma will present, and then we'll have Mediatek Labs present. Then we'll have member announcements. So just so that you know, member announcements are where any of you get to say if your company is offering a job, or if you're looking for a job, or if you're a consultant of some sort, you have a specific expertise. So this is your chance. This is your 20 seconds that you can say what you want and leave some type of contact information or let people see you. Remember that there are also people online. We're live streaming the event. And we'll also put this event on YouTube. So if you have some type of ask, make sure you put some contact information with it, like an email address, for example, or a website that somebody can contact you. So something to think about. So IoT Central's mission is to inspire, engage, and connect entrepreneurs, investors, professionals, and enthusiasts worldwide who are active in the Internet of Things. So we're really here as an organization that helps with learning and helps to connect the community of IoT professionals. I think one of the things that we recognized in the beginning, one of the reasons that I started this meetup is that there are many different software meetups, and there are some hardware meetups, But there are very few places where there's really an intersection of hardware and software, where hardware and software people can get together and think of it as a holistic problem. And so that's why this meetup exists. And so our sessions focus either on a vertical or a horizontal. So verticals could be something like healthcare and IoT, or transportation and IoT. And then we also focus on horizontals, like technology horizontals, like today is dealing with IoT development platforms. So that's also a subject matter. So we'll talk about either a vertical or horizontal in one of our monthly meetings. Sometimes we do more than one meeting a month. And that's the idea, is really to educate and to help connect the community. So we've had all sorts of events, including panel discussions, demo nights. We've had the IoT fair in December, and different startup pitch events as well. We now have 2,900 plus members, so thanks to the community, thank you all. And we are one of the top 10 IoT meetups worldwide. This is a new initiative that we've started just about a month ago called the IoT Map. So this is a chance for, if you have a startup or if you have a company, and you don't have to be in New York, you can be anywhere in the world. You can sign into the IoTmap.com, and your startup, you can put yourself literally on the map. So put your IoT company on the map there, and if you have any questions, you can contact me. I'll put contact information up later. So some ways to contact us at IoT Central. So first of all, Twitter handle is @IoT Central, and so if there are people on the live stream that want to tweet in questions, we'll be glad to entertain those. And so feel free to tweet it in with the @IoT Central handle. And then the meetup page, if you haven't been there, it's meetup.com/NYCIoT. So that's the way to register for events. We have the IoT map, which I just described. It's at theiotmap.com. And then our YouTube channel is youtube.com/NYCIoT. And if you need to contact us, you can contact me at mitchell@iotcentral.co. So it's, again, that's mitchell@iotcentral.co. One useful tool is that we have an emailing list. It's a reflector that goes to, there are about 2,500 people or more by now, I think, signed up for this email list. So if you have an ask, let's say you're looking for a specific type of, looking to solve a specific IoT connectivity problem, or you have found a bug in a certain piece of open source software and you want to communicate with other people in the community, so you can post a message on NYCIoT-list at meetup.com, and that'll go to the community in New York. So use it judiciously, and I think you can benefit from that. So one other announcement before we get into the main event is that there is an Internet of Things Global Summit coming up October 26th and 27th. It's at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. I went last year. It was a great conference. And you can register here. We have a special discount code of 20%. The code is NYC20. And you can use that whether you're here tonight or not here at the meetup. You register at that link there, www.iotsummit2015.com. So, and that's happening in about a month from now. And it's a very interesting conference. You can find out more on the website. It's a lot dealing with policy as well. So, without further ado, we'd like to introduce the first main speaker, which is Peter Hoddie. He is a founder of Kinoma, and as the VP of the Kinoma platform at Marvell, Peter Hoddie runs the integrated design and engineering team within that semiconductor company. In 2002, Peter co-founded Kinoma as a startup to develop a next-generation virtual software platform. Kinoma software was widely deployed by Palm, Sony, and Sling Media. Kinoma was acquired in 2010 by Marvell. Prior to Kinoma, Peter founded Generic Media in 2000, and it radically simplified both the publishing and viewing of digital media by introducing the first on-demand, real-time media transcoding server. Generic Media partnered with Sony to create the G-Movie player, the leading video technology for Palm handhelds. For nearly a decade, previous to Generic Media, Peter played a central role at Apple as chief QuickTime architect. He defined, built, and promoted Apple's trailblazing QuickTime technology. While at Apple, he was awarded the designation of Distinguished Engineer for his work. Peter has contributed to the MPEG-4, JPEG 2000, and SMIL standards. He is named as an inventor on 10 issued patents. So we're very lucky to have Peter here tonight, and we'll all welcome Peter.
Just going to sort out this mic and reflect on my lengthy biography. Cool. Let's put that in my pocket. So you can hear me? Great. And my slides are somewhere. So it's sometimes not clear. So Kinoma was a freestanding company for about a decade in Palo Alto. And we spun into Marvell Semiconductor, which is like 6,000 people building computer chips, about 4.5 years ago. And Marvell very generously allows us to still act like we're an independent company in much of what we do, while still having access to a lot of what the company does. So we kind of have the benefits of being at a large company and still kind of the attitude and the freedom of being at a small company. What I want to do, I think a lot of you aren't yet familiar with the work that we do. So I want to introduce you to what we do. And almost as important, maybe more important, is our perspective on why we're doing things the way we do. There's lots of people doing IoT platforms. There's lots of prototyping kits out there. There's certainly plenty of open source software. So I hope by the end of this you'll have some idea of what's distinct about our approach to doing that. And I'll introduce you to some of the tools that we have to help you do that. So we are very much an engineering team with a bunch of designers hanging out amongst us. We specialize in client-side software, so nothing to do with the cloud, no pretending about any of that stuff, nothing about databases. We're really focused on the software that's inside the devices that you hold in your hand. And as a consequence of doing that, we end up building a little bit of hardware because it helps a lot, as you'll see. On the software front, we are completely dedicated to the JavaScript programming language. So we believe that the future of the Internet of Things will be scripted. This is a somewhat controversial statement with some people. Bear with me. There's time for questions afterwards. Feel free to challenge me. But we think it's great because, first, it's the programming language of the Internet, for sure. And JSON is the data format of the Internet, by the way. So it kind of makes sense that the Internet of Things would use like those languages and data formats natively. So it's something about that. And then scripting tends to be faster and more reliable. I will grant you there are exceptions to that, but generally it's true in terms of building stuff. Now, some people say, JavaScript, it's like this toy language. And that was true. This is a wonderful quote by this very quirky analyst who said, yeah, it used to be you weren't serious if you worked in JavaScript. And now if you don't know JavaScript, it means the same thing. Between Node and the web and some of the work that we're doing in embedded devices, JavaScript is something that gives you more power than any other language that you would know. And those connections, that kind of nativeness to the Internet is critical for IoT because the only thing that defines IoT uniquely is the connections. We've had digital devices and little microcontrollers from Atmel inside of products for decades. So it's not the fact that we can program the things in our lives. It's the fact that we can connect them together and have them work together that is really new about IoT. And because of that, we put Wi-Fi into every product we do. I don't even list it as a feature anymore because it's just everything I will show you and talk about has Wi-Fi at its heart. We're a semiconductor company, and what that means is we don't take sides in standards wars. We want our chips to be everywhere. And so in the networking front, we support every possible standard that we could get our hands on. So HTTP, HTTPS, WebSockets, CoAP, MQTT, and a bunch of other things that almost nobody knows about yet, but that are pretty interesting. So we want you to be able to connect however you want to, using whatever protocol and not lock people in. So talking about IoT, this is just kind of a random collection of devices. And I said it's about connections, but a lot of these things don't really connect that much. And they're not very open, right? We have all these like ecosystems. Google recently announced Brillo. That's the Google way of connecting IoT devices. Samsung and a bunch of people have AllJoyn. Apple has HomeKit. Google also has Android at Home. They'll figure that out. ARM has Weave, and they go on. And all of them promise interoperability. But they only promise it with themselves, right? And you know, in my house, I can put in a light bulb from any manufacturer and it works. And in my house, I want that with all my IoT devices, right? None of these like vendor lock-ins that we're moving towards. So how do we do that? Now, I want to take a look at how not to do it, actually, as an example. So I love this product. I got one very soon after it came out. I was deeply disappointed when it was acquired by Google, but I love it. It's a wonderful, beautiful device, and it works incredibly well. And then they announced that they were going to open it up so you could program it. This is great. I'm a programmer. I can like take control of my thermostat. These are the 3 things I can do. I can change the temperature, I can tell it I'm home or not, and I can check the health of the battery. And to do that, I have to go through Google's cloud. So I'm sitting, you know, in my living room, and the thermostat's in the hall, and to make a request to my thermostat, it goes to Google and comes back. And if my Wi-Fi, if my Wi-Fi from Comcast is out, too bad. The more interesting question is, what can't it do? Well, it's a computer inside. It's a TI chip. It's an OMAP. It's pretty powerful. You know, I can't change the schedules. I can't read the light and proximity sensors that are inside there. I can't put anything on the display. I can't respond to the knob turning on the front. I can't find out how much heat I used yesterday. Nothing. So just these 3 things that Google decided were good enough for me. And I bought it, right? Initially they were kind of expensive, in fact. And you know, there is the Hacker Manifesto very directly says if you can't open it, you don't own it. And this was developed around hardware, and these people like live for their screwdrivers and soldering irons to take things apart. But I believe it also needs to apply to software. That the software has to be open just like the hardware has to be open, so that we can get inside these things. And if I want my Nest thermostat to connect to, you know, my Wemo plug, I can make that happen. And I don't need to like get permission from Google, right? The imagination of all the people in the world is much higher than the imagination of just the people at Google or the people at Apple. I pick on Google, but I mean, everybody's equally guilty, so don't read too much into it. And it's an interesting thing, right? The personal computer industry got huge. I remember it in my lifetime. And it got huge because everybody could write software for it. You could not only write apps, you could change the operating system. You could install, and you still can, Linux on your Windows machine. You can install Windows on your Mac, right? The computers are incredibly open, and they led to all the things we have now. Phones, kind of open, right? And you have debates about how open, but kind of open. And you know, thanks to the people who did Jailbreak, a bunch of good-for-nothing hackers, phones are much more open today than they would have been otherwise. But Internet of Things, can you name one Internet of Things product that lets you install an app on it? Yeah, okay, good. They are not open at all. There's probably one. I can't do it myself. But this is a problem because we take this as the norm. People were like angry that they couldn't write code for the iPhone, but nobody's annoyed that they can't write code for their Nest thermostat. And so, you know, we might want to do something about that because we are a technical group of people here. And so scripting helps with that because scripting is something that a lot more people can do. And if we get into questions later, we can talk about the security implications of that as well. So how do we go about doing it? So I think prototyping is a huge thing. I think it's really, really important. I build prototypes of things, and my team does, sometimes just so we can learn something, to see if we can do it. You know, so we'll build something. We have no idea if we want to make a product out of it. Let's see how far we get. We build something because we have a great new idea for something no one's ever done before, or because we think we have a better way of doing something, right? But I think maybe the most important thing, the most important reason we prototype is that, you know, we can't all do mass manufacturing scale, right? But we all are sitting on ideas. They may be of interest to 100 people, they may be of interest to 1 billion people. But prototyping takes you from explaining your idea and waving your hands like I'm trying to do now, to something concrete that people can look at and can play with and can react to, right? And if you doubt the power of a good prototype, you know, spend a little bit of time on Kickstarter, right? Like everything there is like a prototype. And people get so excited and jazzed about it, and it leads to incredible products entering the world, right? Like everything to do with drones and like Oculus and all this stuff came out of that. People who built prototypes and went there. And so my point is, if we think that IoT products should be more open, if we think that's like an essential characteristic that's missing, and I do, you've probably figured that out already, we should prototype devices that behave the way we want to show people it's possible. because if it's desirable and it's possible, then the manufacturers will actually tend to follow along. So how do we do that? So I'm going to talk to you about specifically some of our products that we build to do it. And one of the ways that we come at this is that, you heard my bio, I'm very much a software engineer, and I've actually spent most of my career working at hardware companies. And it's always been very limiting that I couldn't do anything without convincing some hardware engineer to help me. And with what we try to do with Kinoma hardware products is make it so that people who aren't experts in hardware yet can get started and do things that are safe and fun and get results. And so I said everything has Wi-Fi, everything is JavaScript powered and designed for that. So if you really despise JavaScript, our products are not for you, because you could theoretically program them in C, but you basically never will. So they're really JavaScript centric. And as you'll see, they look like real products. They don't look like bare green boards. And we did that very deliberately because we wanted people who are afraid of a bare green board to be able to jump in and start using these products. So let's talk about the three we have. So this is Kinoma Create. We crowdfunded this on Indiegogo about 1.5 years ago now, something like that. This is this was our first device, and it's incredibly powerful. It's sort of morally equivalent to a Raspberry Pi in terms of horsepower, but built-in touchscreen, which is awesome. Battery, as you can see, it's not connected to anything. Speaker, microphone, tons of pins. There's I can do this actually. There's 50 pins on the back, and there are another 16 on the front you can plug things into. So people plug this into all sorts of things. It's incredibly robust. We made it so that you could do IoT measurements from your backpack, right? So you could just take that thing, throw it in your backpack, and take it with you during the day. We've had people strap it to a hang glider and literally fly around with it. It works well. And so it's a great product for prototyping almost anything that needs a screen, whether it's mobile or whether it's in your home. And that screen, it turns out to be so useful. There's so much information you can display, diagnostics and user interface. So this was our first one, and this is available now, so you can actually get it if you were so inclined. The next one that we're doing is called Kinoma Element, and it's radically different. It's this little thing here. Obviously no screen. This is just a little 200 megahertz microcontroller with a 0.5 megabyte of RAM. And I'll say that again, 0.5 megabyte, not 0.5 gigabyte. And we can run full JavaScript 6th edition in this. Not the biggest app on the planet, for sure, but we really can run JavaScript, and it runs really, really well here. It's a big deal because this is actually an earlier board, but you can see this one little chip here that's sort of at a diagonal. It's a single chip solution that has memory, CPU, and Wi-Fi. So the only things you need on top of it are a small ROM, an antenna, and a power source. And so for, depending on your scale, for between $5 and $10, you can Wi-Fi enable anything on the planet with something the size of your thumb. And so it's pretty awesome where technology is getting to in terms of doing that. We're launching that later this year. And then the third one is Kinoma HD, and if it looks a lot like something you'd plug into your TV, that's because it is. And this one, interestingly, has absolutely no pins for the outside world, so you can't plug any sensors or anything into it. The other two have plenty of ports. And the reason is because we figure you'll put this behind your TV, and you don't want to crawl back there to plug in other stuff. And so you talk to this over Wi-Fi from other devices in your home. But it gives a beautiful HD display, incredibly fast, and just the simplest way to ever get something on your TV. It just comes up, it's in hello world mode, waiting for some JavaScript code to arrive. And so the idea here is everyone has a big giant screen somewhere in their house, and this lets you code for it and take complete control over that surface. And so you can kind of knit these together into any configuration you want, but figure out where you want to start, and then these will kind of let you build your ideas out. They all use the same JavaScript engine, and they all use similar APIs, same as much as we could across them, so that once you learn how to use one, you can actually use pretty much all of them. Things you'll notice about these, they don't look like prototyping hardware, right? Like most prototyping hardware looks like that, the board inside. We found a lot of people were too intimidated to get started with kind of just bare boards, and the instructions that come with them are a little frightening. So we put everything inside an enclosure so it's safe. We put a nice, friendly, bright color design, and we really tried to make it consumer friendly, right? So that anybody would feel good getting started with it. And so some people say, oh, it's cute, like it's a toy prototyping device. But actually, it's the opposite. It's a strange quirk of the laws. If you sell a bare board, you don't have to do any FCC certification to make sure your radio waves are legal. And you don't have to do electrostatic discharge emissions in Europe and all these other things. And so you don't have to qualify a bare green board to the same level you do a consumer product. But because we put a case around these, we do. So these things are fully rated with the consumer electronics that you buy from any manufacturer. For US, Japan, and EU. We test them at extreme temperatures. We use real mass production parts. And that means it's a big deal. It's a pain in the ass for us. It's a big deal because if you start building a product on one of these, the path to final delivery of a mass production product is much smaller because you can build on all the knowledge and experience that we put into that. And just to show you that it's not like trivial, that little green thing down there is a Kinoma Create in a big chamber that's measuring the radio frequency emissions coming off of that. And we were at this place like once a week, measuring changes and testing to get it right. Robert Vu with his micro soldering was putting things together. Kin was doing his usual thing. And this, if you should get one of these if you're ever bored, is a Temptronic. And it's attached to this big, huge machine. And you put your device under it. And then you say, I want to test my device at 114 degrees. And it will give you 114 degrees. And so and you have to because we had problems. Like at -10, it didn't work. And it was supposed to. And so all these things are not trivial details to get right later. It's much better if you can know that they're going to be solved right early on. And so not only do we do that work, but we give it all to you. So we're very big believers in being as open as we can. So all the printed circuit board designs are available. They're on GitHub. You can haul them down. The 3D case design files are there. So if you think the board is about right for what you need, you can reskin the whole device. And we've had people do that even with wood. There's a very beautiful Kinoma Create in wood that's hanging around. Software we'll talk a bit more about, but then it's all with just like simple Creative Commons licenses. So you can build on our work and learn from what we did. Let's talk about software. So at the core of our software, I said, is JavaScript, and the engine that we use is called XS6. And it's our own JavaScript engine. We don't use V8, we don't use SpiderMonkey, we don't use any of those, because all of those were optimized for the web. And the web won't fit into a 0.5 megabyte of RAM. Like, it's impossible. V8 is incredibly fast, but it's not small. So we have our own engine that's small and fast and can really fit inside there. But we didn't cheat. It's really the full language. You can run all like the strange, obscure features of JavaScript, and they're there. And so you don't have to learn a subset. The entire implementation of XS6 is open source, so you can haul it down and learn from it. If you're into that stuff, it's fascinating. As you may know, JavaScript is about to go into 6th edition. They just finalized it this year. So a lot of people in the JavaScript world are buzzing about ES6, which stands for ECMAScript 6. And nobody has shipped a full version of that yet, because the language spec is literally, what, 1,500 pages? Something like that. At the moment, this is a compatibility for who's done the most features of ECMAScript 6th edition. At the moment, this will not last forever, by the way. We are ahead of everybody, Apple and Microsoft and Mozilla, and it's great. So we got way out in front because we thought these changes to the language are a big deal for IoT, and we wanted to get there early. And they also actually helped us slim some things down, which was kind of a nice surprise. So often when you think about IoT development and embedded development, you think, oh, I'm using tools from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? You're never thinking you're on the leading edge. But if you're doing stuff in Kinoma.js, if you're using our JavaScript engine, you're actually ahead of the curve in terms of where the web is today. And so, I mean, they'll catch up. They're good. They're very good. But we're really out there and innovating and making the investments to build that technology in-house. On top of the JavaScript engine for Kinoma Create and for Kinoma HD, we have a whole user interface framework. And that's optimized for those kinds of devices. It was really built first for mobile and then kind of expanded out. But if you get a chance to check out Kinoma Create a little bit later, the easiest way to appreciate the engine is that everything in the UI of Kinoma Create, and there's like a dozen apps in here, all touch-driven, is completely implemented in JavaScript. And it's all rendering at like 60 frames a second and, I mean, doing everything. And so there's not a native app in the box. And so we're really using our own technology to deliver our own products, and it gets beautiful results. The scope of it handles digital media, can play video, audio, drives UI, manages hardware, so you can do all the, plug in all your Arduino sensors, and it does all the communication as well. So Our idea is that everything you can do on the device, you should be able to do from JavaScript. We're not trying to keep you away from anything. And that's different from the browser, where for security reasons, they're trying very hard to keep you away from some things. So you have a lot more freedom there. Some people ask us quite fairly, so where's your cloud service? And where do I buy your sensors? And the answer is no. We are really completely focused on the software and the host hardware, and there are so many fantastic sensors out there. Adafruit, SparkFun have just lots of great stuff that we don't even want to try to compete with that. You can buy those things, the prices are great, and you can plug them right into the ports on Kinoma Create or Kinoma Element. Similarly, there are an insane number of cloud services out there. You're going to hear about one a little bit later, and lots of them are great. And we just want you to be able to connect to the one that makes sense. So we think we have a very straightforward business model where you bring what you want, and that openness of being able to work with everything, right? Other people's hardware, other people's clouds, other people's services is really essential to where we think IoT needs to go, where you can interconnect as makes sense for you as a consumer or you as a product designer and not be stuck. So this is where I would like to see us get if I had my way. I want devices to be intrinsically scriptable, just like our computers are programmable and to some extent our phones. But I want it to be one scripting language. I choose JavaScript. If some other one won, I would still celebrate it. But I choose JavaScript because it's so popular on the internet and so many people use it already that it would be great if we had one uniform scripting languages across the browser, web servers, and embedded devices. That would just be convenient. A lot of devices today could run scripts if they wanted to, and in the future there's going to be enough horsepower that nobody will have a good excuse not to. Scripts are much easier to code. You don't need any tools. A lot of times all you need is a text editor, right? You don't need a compiler, a linker, or anything else. You can just edit the code and you're good. They're portable. JavaScript is not tied to any operating system, right? So it can work on different CPUs, different operating systems, different devices. It's manufacturer independent, and there's tons of people who script. So if you're starting a company, think about this, and we've run into some people, it's very real. If you're trying to recruit C developers for embedded, you can choose from a few people, and there's some great ones. But if you are looking for JavaScript developers, they're everywhere. And you can go sit in a cafe, you can go sit in a Starbucks and probably find a pretty good one. And so your pool is much larger, and so it's much easier to scale your software development if you're working in JavaScript. And with some of the customers at Marvell, we're seeing today that that's actually a big deal. Even the biggest brands, that's an issue. So scriptable devices, there's two ways of doing it that I see. The first is what we do, where everything that you do is in JavaScript. The entire device, as much as possible from top to bottom, is in JavaScript. This works. We do it. We built products for Sony years ago that worked that way. It's fine. And I think it's the greatest thing because then your device is intrinsically scriptable because everything was scripted to begin with. For existing products, for teams that are more familiar with traditional embedded, that may not work. That may be a bridge too far this month. But you could take our JavaScript engine, drop it in, and use that as the extension mechanism for your product. So use your existing product and just add scriptability to it on the side. That turns out to be exactly what Mozilla did when they added JavaScript to the browser way back when, right? The browser is a native C application that happens to have a JavaScript interface on top of it. So either are perfectly valid, and our engine can work well in either one. So it all sounds a little crazy, but it's great when it comes together. So I would encourage you to think about giving it a try. You could certainly use our hardware, and I'd be thrilled if you did. I will also tell you that we have a simulator for our hardware that runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux that you can download for free off of our website. And it does almost everything the same, including emulate the hardware pins. So you can try the whole thing out, on yourself, on your computer for free. People often ask me, like at a Maker Faire where we'll be this weekend, what project should I make? How do I get started? And my answer is always like, don't try to be creative yet. You don't even know what this thing can do. You don't know what you can do. Just pick a project that's out there that looks possible, that looks simple, and build it. Do what somebody else did. Follow in their footsteps, right? You don't start playing piano by thinking, how am I going to outcompose Mozart? You start modestly and learn and figure it out, and then you go. And so it's a really great thing to give it a try and just see how it feels, see if it makes sense. And we have a huge number of resources to help you at this point. We have a YouTube channel with a bunch of tutorials. Some of them are based on material from a class from UC Berkeley from this last semester where they used Kinoma Create for device prototyping. We have over 100 sample applications. A bunch of them show you how to connect to different hardware. You can see analog is at the top because it begins with A, and connect to different web services. We have lots of documentation. I would not start with the documentation. The documentation is complete, but when you're getting started, it's overwhelming. Start with the sample code and the videos, and then once you start to understand it, dive into docs. We have an online support forum that's free. You post a question, you can answer questions, and my team answers questions there as well. So there's a lot of great information there to help you. And some of our projects are now up on Instructables, which is very cool. We were featured there last week. And so again, lots of great stuff you can make. And if you really want to understand how it all works, the source code to just about everything is up on GitHub. And you can just haul it down and take a look. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. And then finally, if you just want to see what we're up to, we have the usual Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram presences, which we post useful information about what we're up to and new samples and projects. So that's the kind of the core of what I wanted to say. I think it's just really, it's a really interesting time in IoT because things haven't settled down. On computers now, the question is, do you want Mac, Windows, or Linux, right? On phones, the question is, do you want Android or do you want iOS? On IoT, there's not even a definitive list of what do you want yet. And so we're at a point in this industry where we can define, we can have an influence on what are the expectations, what are the winners and losers going to be, and how should they behave. I'm not wildly, insanely optimistic in saying we will decide in this room, but through our work, through our efforts, through our choices, we can actually have a real impact there. And I think if you think about it a little bit and start to watch what's happening, scripting is going to be a really important part of that because it can provide the openness and interconnection that we need to create the scenarios that we want in our house so that the things in our house behave and respond exactly the way we want, not the way some engineer off in South Korea or Silicon Valley or New York decided it should be. And I think that's really, really important. So with that, I have a little bit of time for questions, so please.
So for a non-hobbyist, or if a hobbyist want to maybe build a product, hardware product, using Kinoma, completely JavaScript,
Yep.
how do today they still need to convert that into PCB board integrated, they still need to go back to that system code, or do they not?
No. Not if I understand your question correctly. So the question is, so you can start in JavaScript for prototyping. At some point, you have to go back to C. Is that? And the answer is no. We take this all the way through to commercial delivery. And so it's actually one of the really great things is you can take, often what happens is it used to happen a lot. You prototype in Flash or some such thing, right, or in the browser. You'd have a great idea, and then to actually do the product, you would throw it all away and start again, right? And that's painful because you would do things in Flash or whatever that could never make it in the final product. And so by staying on a straight line with the same language and the same runtime, you can make that work. Now, you'll kill yourself if you start with a 1.2 gigahertz processor, and then you say, oh, I'm going to switch for cost to a 200 megahertz processor, right? Something's going to go wrong on that path. So you still have to make some wise engineering choices, but the code really follows you all the way through.
So right now, the processor in that Kinoma board is one specific processor.
There's three. Each product has a different processor. So the Create is about an 800 megahertz processor. The Element is about 200 megahertz, and the Kinoma HD is actually dual core 1.2 gigahertz. So this is actually the fastest one. Yeah. So it's a good range for kind of exploring things. So the software is open, so you could try. You can put it on other people's hardware. Marvell pays our bills, so we tend to focus on their hardware, and their stuff is actually quite good. But you can run it elsewhere as well.
Just one follow-up question.
Please.
It only supports the sensors from the vast database of sensors you support. What if I want to connect another sensor?
Great question. So one of the things I mentioned, the question is, can I plug in other sensors? How do I do that? I mentioned we wanted to make it so you could do everything from scripts, right? And so traditionally in Linux, for example, writing a driver is the domain of we all keep away from and we're afraid about. We made it so you can write the drivers for sensors in JavaScript. We're not the only ones who did it. The folks at Tesla, for example, also did it. It's very nice. Tesla's another company that did some interesting JavaScript stuff. But what it means is if you have a digital device connected, you can read and write the digital pins from the script. You can talk to serial from script. You can do I2C commands from script. And so you have all that there at that level. And the only place you get in trouble is when you want to do, 50,000 I2C operations in a second, JavaScript is too slow, right? And so then you would go down to C. But in fact, for almost every product on the planet, you want to do like 3 I²C transactions a second, and it's completely fine. So we have a special kind of module, which is specifically for talking to the hardware that runs in a separate thread where we can. And so we've got a bunch of examples of those on the website. Yes? Oh, sorry. Behind.
Yeah, our product biggest challenge is the battery life,
Yeah.
and which is tended to push us closer to the hardware, lower level coding, and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I'd love if you would prove us wrong.
Mhm.
There's JavaScript solutions, there's ways to deal with that in JavaScript.
It's, I mean, there's no silver bullet on battery life. The question is, a big challenge in IoT is battery life, and it's absolutely true. I think the piece that I do, what helps is more people being able to play with the code, right? So, you always have something that's performance critical, and you always end up doing something in C when you're getting into like pushing the limits, and I don't deny that. We're not promoting 100% pure JavaScript model. We're saying like it's a great tool for a lot of it. Sorry. But what it does mean is you could do a lot of your logic about when to sleep, when to spin stuff down, when to power down different parts of it in script, because making those decisions isn't computationally complex. Getting them right and tuning them is hard. And if it's being handled by some embedded engineer at the bottom of the stack, and that's the only person who can modify the code, she has all the power. And she's, I mean, not a bad engineer, but like if it's only one pair of eyes, it's only one pair of eyes. If it's in script and lots of people can play with it, oh, I had an idea. I tried it over the weekend and I got like, an extra 30 minutes of battery life. Great. And so I think scriptability, just in terms of more people can read it, more people can write it, eventually can lead to better results for a lot of those things. But it's nothing. It's kind of just practical. It's not, theoretically, I will never claim that there's anything you couldn't have done in C. But sometimes just making it easier is the transformative step. So, there's a question here.
Can you actually tell us a little bit about the cost of the elements?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, totally. So,
I have another question.
yes.
Not related to cost. Is the elements weather resistant, weather proof?
Definitely not. Nice idea. But the great thing is, I'll answer that part first. We do it very deliberately. This is an earlier board, so it's a little bigger. But you have the board specs, and we actually spend extra in manufacturing element to put a screw in it, so you can take it out of the case easily. And so you could enclose it that way yourself easily enough, but we didn't go that route. And the reason for that is so Kinoma Create is a little on the expensive side because it has everything in it. If you add up what's in there, it's a good deal. It's $149, but like it's a big first step. And so we really tried hard on Element and HD to have much more aggressive price point. So we haven't announced final pricing, but we're doing pre-orders on Element for $20, and we're doing pre-orders on HD for $25. You could expect the final pricing will be somewhat higher, but not like 10 times, not even close. And we really want these things to be out there in bulk. And I think one of the fascinating things with Element is it's small enough and inexpensive enough. It's not hard to imagine putting one in every room in your house, for example. And we're seeing in our pre-orders, people are doing that. They're ordering 2 or 3 of them at a time so that they can play with them that way. So I think we're running a little long, so I'll do one more question, and then we can swap. Yeah?
Do you see this as a platform or tools for prototyping, or do you expect some companies will build up Kinoma and get to like the next one?
No, I mean, I think there are really a couple distinct uses. The prototyping side, the education side is great, and it's really like fantastic for kids and for students to learn. And we're doing some things there. We're actually sponsoring an after-school group this semester that comes down once a week and is learning programming here. But we're part of Marvell. We're part of a big commercial organization, and our salespeople put the same stuff into our customers' hands. And at first they were a little skeptical because they're like, this is kind of cute, and our customers are serious, hardcore engineers, but they love it because anything that makes their job easier is completely welcome. And so we have people in various stages of production that and design that I can't name yet, unfortunately, but who are taking parts of these things in varying levels and going into commercial production, going towards commercial production with very real products with very real brands. And so it's there. We've been using, Kinoma was started 13 years ago. We've been around for a while. And we've put this stuff, in, as Mitchell mentioned at the beginning, into products from Sony and Palm and other companies. And so it's real robust commercial grade stuff, and we just happen to have brought it to kind of the makerspace. So I will turn it over to Mitch. I thank you for your questions, and I'll be here afterwards to talk some more. Mitchell, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. I just want to make a few announcements before we go right into the next speaker. So we have a few people that are here. I'd like to recognize Amitava Dattaroy is an IEEE fellow, and he writes about the Meetup pretty often. So we'd like to thank you for that. So thanks, Amitava. And he's also, I think you're giving a talk next week. So would you like to let us know when it is? When is it? It's on?
My talk is Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 29th of September. So if you need information, we can post that. Great. And then I'd also recognize Peter Propp, who's visiting from the Stanford Innovation Center. So if you want to stand, we welcome you. Thanks for coming all the way from Connecticut.
We met out in Las Vegas a few weeks back, and I run an incubator out of Stanford. It's a great place to come visit and check it out. The reason I'm excited to be here is I do work with Sikorsky Aircraft, the helicopter company. And what they've asked us to do is try to find interesting companies with new technology in a couple of key areas like 3D manufacturing and augmented reality, things like that, but especially in IoT. And what they're looking for is young companies with interesting technology that can help them make helicopters more run better. So imagine better sensors that allow them to predict failure of parts and things like that. So if you have technology that you think might be applicable, they've got an entrepreneurial challenge. It ends in the middle of October, and there's a $25,000 award for the winning submission. But that's really just like dessert. The dinner is you get to know these people at Sikorsky who are some of the best engineers in the world, and they really want to meet you guys in here. So hopefully I've piqued some interest among some of you. I'll be around today. We'll talk about it, and I'm fine.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'll try to recap just so that we get it on tape. As Peter mentioned, Sikorsky Aircraft, which is a famous maker of helicopters and other types of aircraft, has a competition that ends in the middle of October. So we can put a link to that on the site.
I'll send a note.
Okay, great. Peter will send out a note. And they're looking for 3D technology, 3D printing technology, augmented reality, and in IoT sensors and other things that relate to helicopter safety or helicopter measurements, all types of, I think also some power generating, like self-powered IoT devices. Peter will put some information online. There's a $25,000 prize for that, and also there's a chance, of course, to work with Sikorsky. So thanks, Peter. And so I will introduce our next speaker. So our next speaker is also all the way from California, and he flew in especially for this, so we thank you. Derek Huang is the Developer Marketing Manager at Mediatek Labs. And as an integral part of this key initiative for Mediatek, Derek and his team work with developers and makers worldwide to ensure they have all the necessary tools, resources, and support to build cutting-edge IoT and wearable devices and services on top of Mediatek's LinkIt platform. Derek has more than 10 years of product development experience in semiconductor industry. Prior to joining Mediatek, Derek was product manager at NVIDIA, leading development of Tegra K1 Superchip and Google Nexus 9 tablet. During a 3-year career at NVIDIA, he also performed product marketing role of several Tegra chips, including solution awareness and adoption of many mobile devices. Derek worked at Intel, developing multi-year product strategy and managed OEM projects for their mobile business unit. Derek Huang has a BS and a master's in electrical engineering from the National Chiao Tung University in Taiwan. Derek received his MBA from Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan, and he's also a diehard Yankee fan. since 1995, and also is a passionate supporter of Bay Area teams. So without further ado, we'll welcome up Derek Huang.
So thanks everyone for coming tonight. So before I get started, so tonight we'll get a raffle after this presentation. So if you're interested, you can go to BD IoT NYC Meetup just to register, and then we'll do a raffle for the hardware kit dev board after this presentation. So before I get started, I wonder how many people have ever heard of Mediatek? Okay, that's a good portion of it. Yep. So Mediatek is a semiconductor fabless company. We produce IC, mobile processor, for different products. Last year, we have about 7 billion of revenue. Now, the company started at 18 years ago. Right now, we have 27 offices worldwide. And here's our market position right now. The company starts from the home entertainment segment, including the digital TV, DVD players, optical drive. And then we expanded to mobile devices like phone, tablets, such and such. In last year, we shipped more than 1 billion devices worldwide. Out of that number, we have about 650 million devices are phone or mobile devices related. Last year, we captured about 30% of market share for Android smartphone. But probably the reason why so many people haven't heard of this Mediatek company before, because we're behind the thing. We produce the ICs. We support all these global brands in the consumer electronics. So in all these brands, like for example, my personal favorite is a Kindle tab reader. Many people don't even recognize that we power Amazon Kindle tablets at all. So chances are you already been one of our end users. You just don't know about it. So what we are looking into for the next growth opportunity as a company, and are looking for annual shipment volume around 2 billion devices. And right now, we're at a mobile internet age, which is right now, if you look at, it's about billion devices already connected. So if we want to expand the business, IoT is our focus, because according to our research, by 2020, it will have 10 times more devices connected to the internet. So that's what we are actually go after, and this is the demand side. But if you look at the supply side, the IoT developer is also growing as well. By 2020, it will have 15 times more than currently what we have developers. So more and more developers, they are migrating from pure apps developer from the IoT, which is the intersection between software and hardware. So people start getting to some sense, start getting to learn what's the hardware about, how can they use the hardware to change user experiences, rather than just, okay, here's the app, and then you click through your app, some features on the screen. It's more get into your day-to-day life in different ways, and a lot of the idea hasn't been innovated yet. So if you look at the demand and supply side, the market opportunity is huge, and then the the people who are able to contribute it is also fragmented. They have different level of expertise. Some from the hardware side, some have more expertise on the software side. So as a company, how could MediaTek to capture this opportunity and support this broad community? That's why MediaTek create a new team called MediaTek Labs. We consider ourselves as a developer-centric place. So when we look through developers' angle, we figure that there's just many pain points that as a developer struggle for a long time. First, they have a hard time to get access to the chipsets. Traditionally, a lot of semiconductor companies then tended to work with the big company, just like the global brand I listed. So, and if you want to get into that as an individual developer or startup, there's a long, lengthy NDA you have to go through, review. So people get struggle on that as well. And then people have different expertise. So sometimes people want to get a fast turnaround to start working on your solution, but they don't have a right vehicle to start with. Also, all the time, when they have some ideas, they have a prototype, people want to bring it to the market, they struggle because they don't have a manufacturing experiences or they don't have the reliable source to manufacture for them. So MediaTek Labs is here to solve all these pain points. We make our chipsets available through a module type. So it's slightly bigger than a real chipset, but you are able to just buy it online without getting all this legal process. So it's more like the e-shopping, get a chipset module at home. And we also create a LinkIt dev platform which include the hardware, software, all the documentation, all available online, so people can easily access. We provide a free forum to do a technical support. So if you have any question, you get a real-time support out of that, rather than go through your sales channel to the company and never get through the engineering team to fix the issue for you. Lastly, the biggest thing we want to help the developers is we have a supply chain partner program. They can help you from prototype, component sourcing, verification, or distribution, manufacturing. They can do everything for you. It's flexible, and then we will get more into that later. So that's the high-level overall offering that MediaTek Labs provide to this IoT community. So LinkIt One is the dev board that on my hand. This is our first product under LinkIt platform. It uses our chipset MT2502. It's a small disk SoC with a cellular connection capability. On this LinkIt One board, it's quite different from all other dev board you see on the market because it has all-in-one connectivity, which meaning it has cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, BLE, and GPS all on the same board. So you don't have to add or you don't have to connect the different shield, just plug in and then test different capability. It's all on the same board. Software, installed software, it just works. In IoT, it requires a sensor to complete your project. So we have pre-certified sensor kit. It calls growth sensor kit. If people are playing with Intel Edison, they use the same type of the sensors. So which meaning we will support a large sensor ecosystem. You plug in and the interface is just right on the board. And finally, we provide an integrated SDK with Arduino IDE support. So people are familiar with IDE, nothing needed to change on your side. It's pretty much the same thing. so you can get started immediately. So once a developer, you use a LinkIt 1 to test your proof of concept, the next step is, if you want to go to the market, what should you do? There is a couple of ways. You can do on your own, or you can find some incubator, exchange your 10% of stocks to have their offer, to have their manufacturing service, or you can come to us. We provide this partners service for free because ultimately our goal is to sell the chipset. The faster you can sell your product to the market, the faster we can sell the chipset and make money out of that. So we have a partner. They can provide services from prototype all the way to production. Depends on your capability and actual needs. They can help you to do design review or manufacturing or even distribution. That's not a problem. And these are the experienced supply chain partner. Right now, we already negotiate a list of suppliers. A list of suppliers within these three key verticals: wearable and health, smart home, and smart cities. They can provide very flexible services, like you can do prototype from 1 to 100 pieces, use it for crowdfunding, VC pitch, or just the functionality test. It's fine. And then you can place a few thousand pieces for your first order, show it in the market, you see the good turnaround, and then you can come back to place an even larger order. So we already negotiate those terms for you. And then when you come to us, we will look at your project and find a good partners that would match your needs. And those companies that have been used to manufacture product for those global product, for example, if you look at, for example, if you are interested to develop your IoT gateway, we have partner that have been developed the router for Netgear, Comcast for a long time. So they know what's the verification process should be. They can help you to do the review process as well. So because this is really critical. Without these services, start from scratch, it will take a developer a very long time to fix and even just identify those issues. If you look at a research, more than 50% of the hardware project on crowdfunding website, they all get delayed, ranging from 3 months to 6 months, sometimes even more than a year. That's normal. So this is really help the developers to really bring your product to the market. And here I will give you a few examples of how developers using our dev board to create this proof of concept, and then right now they are in the production pipeline. So Akima, it's a smart home brewer project starting by a group of wine lovers. Well, everyone loves wine, so they went to a hackathon event with a LinkIt 1. They initiated this project, and they see the potential, and then they continue this project by plugging different sensors, and then they test out the functionality. And when they see there's a real need for this product, they come back to us, asking for the production services. So we pair them to the right manufacturer to help them to review the design. So then they only need to focus on the app, the smartphone app design, the functionality of the functionality of products, but they don't have to worry about the component source and the manufacturing. This is another project called Zazu. Is developed by a company called Buckgeek. It's unlike a regular pet tracker. It's a Fitbit for pet. So the idea is quite interesting. So they, the company that have the very good experiences in software app development. They barely have hardware experiences. They hire one hardware, but when they want to hardware engineer, when they expand to the IoT business, and then they struggled because the person who can develop it, but there's a lot more issues to fix. Antenna, the layout, how can you do a small size so you can fit it in a good tracking devices, ID design. That's all the key things they have to worry about. So they came back to us. We pair them with a manufacturer who designed a path tracker. So they leverage existing reference design and customize to their own capability. So it really helped them shorten the design cycle by 3 months. That's a lot when you have the idea and want to bring to the market. Every day really counts. So 3 months, that's a lot. And so we would like to encourage you to use the LinkIt One to build a project just even for fun as a hobby. It's completely fine, because the key thing is you start with some idea that's interesting, and then soon you'll figure that would have a really strong power to change the future. So we recently partnered with Hackster.io to host an online competition. It's LinkIt smart device for smart cities. So if you're interested so right now we're in the pre-contest stage. By September 30th, you can just submit the paper ideas. How do you want to design an IoT project related to the smart city concept? And the top 100 idea will receive a free LinkIt One board. Also, the $25 credit to purchase the sensor kit, because at the end of the day, the board need to connect to the sensors, connect to the cloud, and then make those data useful. So then you can have a real reaction after that. And then we'll have a 2 month for developers to really develop your ideas, make it real, and then the top 3 idea will win Apple devices. I believe the top one will win the iPad Pro, and all these 3 finalists will also get service credit for design and manufacturing services. So this is, if you're a startup or you have some idea you really want to test the market, you don't have to pay a penny for that. Win this, and then you can have some professional manufacturer to review your own design, see the potential, and then they can manufacture for you. Then you can use it for crowdfunding or VC pitch as well. So I think that's a really good opportunity, and we encourage everyone to participate. So if you're really interested, just go to bd/linkitcity. So this concludes my today's presentation. Any questions? Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of IoT hardware platforms. It has a hardware platform that would make it easier. It's almost harder now because it's hard to decide which platforms to use. What do you think makes LinkIt One different from the rest? What use cases do you think LinkIt One will do well? Where do you think it won't?
So the question is, there's many hardware development board out there. So what makes LinkIt One special. And so I think there's a few key differences. Most the hardware dev board, the popular one, they are mainly for educational purpose or target hobbyists for fun. They don't provide the manufacturing services. So you develop you use that, you have a quick start, but then you're on your own, right? But for LinkIt One, we recognize that issue. So that's why we go after those huge ecosystem, like the growth sensor and the Arduino support. So we can easily tap into that existing community. But we go beyond, our services go beyond that. We'll provide you a real manufacturing services. And I think that's really key. And also, even just when you consider the board itself, the capability itself as a hobbyist per se, the all-in-one connectivity really makes a difference. One good example, last month we went to LA for the water hackathon. They have this hackathon to develop a project to solve the drought issue in California. So the older participants found LinkIt One very useful because it has the cellular connectivity. So you can insert a SIM card like the AT&T, T-Mobile, bring the project outdoor, and then go out of the Wi-Fi range. And it really expands your use cases. And you can use that cellular connectivity for your reaction. For example, make a phone call or send a text message. Those kind of the regular cellular capability you can think of. So it really expands your use case and your feature capability, I would say. So that's why it makes LinkIt One special. Yeah.
How hard is the LinkIt One to program? Does it use JavaScript or what does it use? What language?
So right now it supports C language. It runs on proprietary OS and doesn't support JavaScript or other high-level programming language that some like the pure software engineers are familiar with. We certainly recognize that issues. So we're going to have another new product coming in the next month or two. It's much smaller and at even lower cost than LinkIt One. And it's complete open source, Linux-based complete open source with official support from the open source community. And it supports all the high-level programming language like Java, Python, all these languages. So you can easily go after, you can just use whatever programming language you are familiar with. You don't have to learn or go into the low-level C languages. But, yeah. Okay, last question.
Kind of like looking around like the hardware startups or any kind of company that's trying to bring a hardware to the market. One common theme seems to be that manufacturing still requires larger quantities. And from what you're kind of like describing here, I guess a great service like manufacturing. What is the general intention of the service? Is it truly intended for companies with smaller batches of production? And if so, I mean, how are you able to kind of accommodate that? Because again, that still seems to be like scalability and economies of scale seems to be like the issue with manufacturing. And how are they able to kind of like handle that aspect of manufacturing?
So the question is, let me paraphrase it. Let me know if I say it wrong. So the question is there manufacturing services for real? And then how can you scale it when you have multiple developers, projects, and are those manufacturing really support this small quantity order before a startup can even scale it up? Is that captured right? Okay. Yes, we we mean it. We are very serious about this supply chain partner program. The reason is we see many projects fail in the middle of manufacturing process, and that jeopardize our efforts to support these projects. We want to support them all the way to production. Before that happens, all the investment, if it failed, all the investment are gone, right? So we're serious about that. And if you look at, and the other reason why we provide these services is according to our research, Golner recently said the next billion IoT company probably will be established within less than 3 years, which meaning 3 years after, if you see another Fitbit, they probably won't start it yet at this point, right? So we really want to get into that early trend by working with those strong IoT potential company. Because if, for example, now Fitbit is a big company. When we approach the Fitbit, there's a different interactions. It go back to the global account support model, and a lot of business conversation will be very different. But when we support these IoT companies, we help you from very beginning, and then we actually learn from each other. We bring the next generation roadmap for you, and then you can let us know if it makes sense or not. Because at this point, I can say none of the company can know what will happen in the IoT industry. It's really, we see some trend, but there's no single technology would definitely dominate. And we want to work with the developers because every of you has very innovative ideas, and we just have to embrace and open the system just make our system as open as possible, so you can easily work with us, and then let us know, okay, how we can help you to become a next Fitbit. Yeah. I would take one final question if there's any. Okay.
How can we find out when the new version, the new LinkIt version is going to come out?
Yeah, so if you want, you can sign up you can register on our website and sign up on the newsletter, or you can just check back in a month or two, and we'll also promote it. So yeah, definitely we'll come back to you. Okay, I think that will be all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Derek. Just to clarify, I just want to make sure we got this. This competition you have up here is separate from the giveaway today.
Yes.
So it is separate, and the idea today is that I think you're giving away several LinkIt ones. So we'll do that maybe just after
The member announcement.
After the member announcements. Okay. Great. So so I'm going to present. We have some additional content. We've seen two hardware and hardware-software platforms, Kinoma and Mediatek. And now we're going to show you one more presentation by Scott Toddenham from wot-io. He's going to show you a few minutes of what you can do after you have connectivity of a hardware platform to the cloud. You can employ additional data services. So he's going to explain that. So I'll welcome Scott. This goes. Thanks, Mitchell. Oops. Other one. Yes.
Okay, great. I know we got a late start, so I'll just spend a few minutes showing you guys some of the other side of the IoT. So we saw some wonderful presentations from the T side, wonderful device platforms and programs that surround that, regardless of which language you're able to script in or program in. What we like to focus on is the other side of it, the internet side, and all the data services that are available to that. So most of why most people are connecting their devices is obviously to get data off of those devices. So the question becomes, what do you actually want to do with that data? How can you use that data? Where do you want to send it? Where can you send it? What kind of questions can you ask of it? And so a company I work for is wot-io, has built what we like to call a data services exchange for connected device platforms. And as an effort behind that, we have an initiative called Ship IoT, which is basically trying to reduce the time to market as quick as possible to get to a solution, to get to an answer, to get to a scalable infrastructure that works with the solution that you're trying to create, whatever it is. So this tagline is that we're enabling the quick time to market for a shippable IoT solution. That's a comprehensive solution inclusive of a multitude of devices. We have a great partnership with Kinoma and Mediatek to provide the hardware side of things. And they obviously have the connectivity layer, but once you have that connectivity layer, you're going to want to put it somewhere, namely in some sort of cloud offering and a data service to connect on that. So again, so it's a data service exchange. So we have a growing ecosystem of partners that are all best-in-breed data service providers that do a number of things, from analytics to storage to real-time processing to, I'll get into a quick demo, not just quick slides. It's worth noting that we want to be able to say that you can quickly connect, create, and run whatever it is you want to be doing. Okay, so you don't want to spend a lot of time reinventing the wheel. We've tried to take as much out of that as possible and get the time to market down as quickly as possible and get to a solution that really demonstrates the value of the data that you're deriving from that device, whichever platform it happens to be. We've seen some great ones here tonight. We provide a lot of the connectivity layers, and once it's in the cloud, we have a scalable solution that just works. So just a quick diagram to show you hardware platforms. You have some connectivity layer if it's over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or LoRa or a number of other networking protocols that are coming down the pipeline. We have a way to pipe it into our operating environment, which is a secure cloud solution that allows you to dynamically route that data to any number of data service providers. And I'll just quickly hop over to the demo to show you those, because I believe that's more interesting than showing you guys slides. Which one is it? Okay, great. Yeah, so just quickly want to, hey, Max, what's that? Excellent. Just quickly showing, this is we have a blog that highlights some of the integrations work that's done. This is demonstrating a Mediatek device that one of our engineers created that is hooked up to a friend of his motorcycle and has an accelerometer that, when tilted, sends an immediate alert out to the cloud and sends him an immediate SMS messages. And that is done not with some low-level programming, but through the variety of services that I'm about to explain. So it's a great check. He's got a nice video of it, and I will happily point you to that URL to check to show that. That's just one more solution that was quickly done in a matter of minutes, if not hours, and not days or weeks by any means. And a real solution to a real problem that's actually really interesting and keeps everybody safe. Another one, here's an integration that it demonstrates what you can do with Kinoma. Some of the capabilities of quickly creating a script within the Kinoma studio. You can send that data out to wot-io, which is one of the data services I'll show right now. And one of the other service provider partners that we have is called Scripter.io, and this is basically a JavaScript web-based console that allows you to quickly write some control logic, some business logic. As you said, when you're able to write in JavaScript, it is the language du jour of the web. You can quickly tap into a far faster pool of talent to be able to do some interesting things. And so what this provides is basically the ability to have any kind of control logic or your business logic or your routing, or if you want to put some conditionals on the data that's coming in, you can have it pipe into Scripter and do any transformations that you can imagine with just some quick, simple scripts. And to run it, I won't go into too much of it. There's just a quick mention that I'm going to be able to, there's a lot more to each of these platforms that I'm going to be able to show quickly. but you can just show, it's literally just a matter of running a script, hitting run, and you get the results. And you can see that that's the example of the message that's being sent over the web. So if you can imagine coming from a Kinoma device or a Mediatek device, that URL, you can point it to this cloud offering that you have, and then once the data is received, it's very easy to act on it and to manipulate it in whatever way makes sense for whatever you're trying to do. So it's a really, really quick, easy way to just spin up a solution and get to creating something interesting rather than bothering with kind of the low-level programming stuff. There's a lot more information on the site. You're happy to go through it. It's free. Go ahead and sign up. This is one of our partners. Another one is Circonis. And these guys, I'll just quickly mention, have a long history in the dashboard analytics and monitoring of ops dev or DevOps monitoring. And so what they've done is been able to have deep granular control and visibility into your operations. And historically, they're coming from monitoring all your cloud-based operations and systems. But what we're moving towards is being able to also measure device data. And so we have a deep integration with them to be able to dynamically route any of your data. So obviously, if you're monitoring anything, you're sensing anything, you can pipe it right into here. And we have a number of different kinds of dashboards. So whichever visualization makes sense and whatever kinds of questions you want to ask of your data, it's very, very easy to now do that rather than having to take care of the plumbing. You get straight to providing deep visualizations and analytics, and they have some machine learning tools behind the scenes that you can have act on the data and be setting thresholds and basically getting to saying, okay, I want to be monitoring at a very deep level what's the state of my systems. So it's really nice. And then just quick, and lastly, this is another one called Bipio, which is the brainchild of a gentleman named Michael Pearson. And this is essentially a web automation API framework. And there is a whole host of data services, all the known sites of, Facebook, Twitter, Twilio, that if you want to actually say, I want to be able to send a tweet, I want to be able to log this to a Google book, I want to post out to Twitter, all of that kind of work, that integration work, you would historically either A, have to hire another JavaScript developer, which although there are many, it's not really what provides value. It's kind of reinventing the wheel. And so what I'll just quickly say, it's very easy. You can just say, all right, I've created an account, I'm in. This is also free and open source software, so I encourage you to go have a look. So to start out, what we called BIPs, which are basically automated workflows that you want to say. So you can just start here, and the easiest one is to say have an incoming webhook. And so that incoming webhook now has an address that you can send data to. And obviously, to make it interesting, you want to be able to do things like, I don't know, let's add Twilio if we want to just send an SMS message. It's literally as simple as just connecting that. And then you go in and set some parameters. And I'll just quickly say this. So we're setting up a real time. I can just throw my phone number in there as well. And then what we want to have is we can have the custom and say the attribute. And what is the incoming webhook? So you can grab the data that's coming from that web address that you can have come from your Kinoma device or Mediatek device and say, okay, that's the message body. That's now getting sent as the SMS message. Hit OK. We'll just give it a quick name. And there's a whole slew of other things you can do as well with the data. All conditional formatting, messaging, basically any type of processing of the data you can imagine, in addition to a whole host of other services. I encourage you, there's 70 and growing, and you can add some if you like. So once that's all set up and ready to roll, that should save out, and that's now there as a thing. You can hit the test, and it's literally, you can just quickly saying hello, and then if you want to test it out, there's the example for your script command line that should send, and it's saying message sent, and it should be showing up, and you guys can come ask me. It will arrive momentarily. Sometimes Twilio takes a second, and there it is. So those are some of the services. That is one of a growing list of the data service providers in the wot-io operating environment. Come talk to us more. Happy to answer any questions. Just quickly go back to the slides. Switch the screen back there. Okay, so in addition to just quickly what I was showing you, there's a lot more for productivity, connectivity, the social integrations, and some of the hardcore like lower level stuff of just basic raw streaming data graphing, which is oftentimes what you're interested in, and some AI solutions as well. Those are the links to the blog post I mentioned, or there's more, which done deep integrations and code walkthroughs, and it's all there available to say, okay, I want to replicate what that was and then build upon it, which is obviously the best way to learn. Encourage you to just have a look at those two sites, and then when you have that prototype solution quickly done that you haven't spent a lot of time coding but just engineering and dreaming up, behind the scenes there's actually a much more robust, powerful system and a scalable solution that can handle commercial grade industrial scale solutions, which is what our company actually does. So I won't say too much of a pitch, but you can try shipiot.net. Go sign up and let us know if you need any help with anything. We're here to further the ecosystem and to facilitate and help you guys, supporting you in whichever solutions are going to transform it and actually get this value of this hyped IoT world. So that's pretty much it.
Great, thanks a lot, Scott.
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out to me, just send me an email at scott@wot.io, and I'll be happy to speak further, or just come reach me.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Scott. So we're going to get into the member announcements. I think to make this most efficient, if you could come up here to the mic, so you'll actually, if you want, you can be on screen, and also the mic is here, so it'll help people to hear. So you can line up right to my right. That's great. And we can start. So just hold on to that.
Okay, hi. Can everybody hear me? My name is Lauren Conrad. I'm just looking for a job as a technical writer right now, so if anyone knows anyone who might be looking for someone like that, please just see me after this. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Next, anyone else have an announcement? I'm going to put up the, just to get you thinking. So these are the types of member announcements. If you're looking to hire somebody, you're looking for a job, you have a special offer for New York City IoT Central members, you're giving away something, or anything else. So, go ahead. Yeah. Brian?
Yeah.
And why don't you also say which company you're with?
Sure. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm with IoT LLC, which is a web development and app development company in New York City. And we're open to offering discounts for people looking for development projects. We're currently working on companies in the medical space, but obviously are open to expanding into other areas, including IoT. So feel free to check out the website. We are IoT.co, and we can follow up from there. Thank you.
Okay, great. We are IoT.co. Brian, thank you. Next, Howard.
That's right.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Howard Eichenblatt. I'm the member of Law Offices of Howard Eichenblatt. I'm a patent attorney. If anyone is interested in using the services of a patent attorney, I'm offering a 25% discount on a prior art search. If anybody's interested, contact me after this. Thanks, guys.
Okay, great. How do people get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I have a website. It's, it's my last name, so it's a little bit long to spell, but it's eichenblattlaw.com. EICHENBLATT. It'd probably be easier to find me on the Meetup roster because we're the members.
Okay, great. Thank you, Howard. Yeah. Good.
I'm looking for a job relating to like UX design for the physical product things, but better to have like a larger scale because my background is architecture. If someone knows about like research position or something, that would be great.
So design, but also on a larger scale.
Well, hopefully.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking to change my career now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have an announcement? Great.
Hello.
Yep.
Too close? Or?
That's fine.
I'll have this one.
Okay, go ahead. I'll hold this.
Hello guys, I'm Homer. It's like Homer Simpson, but without the H. And I help people building their Kickstarter campaigns. So if you have an idea, I helped a lot of big campaigns earlier. I would love to meet you afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, great. Homer, anyone else? Okay, going once, going twice. I have one announcement before we'll go back to Derek. We're offering some IoT office hours. So if you have a startup and you're looking for specific advice, or if you need specific IoT industry connections, you can come see us at IoT Central. You can contact me, Mitchell at iotcentral.co, and we'll arrange office hours, and we'll help to find the right person to help you. So that's an avenue of support. We're going to give away the hardware in a second. Just a call to action. There's many opportunities to get involved in the NYC IoT, the IoT Central Meetup. First of all, if you want to be an event chair, you can organize a specific future event. We're more than happy to help. We have a lot of the resources. We have volunteer force, and we have lots of ideas for things that of programs in the future. So we'd be glad to help there. And if you have an IoT-related startup and you'd like to present in a future session, please come see Michael, Huang, or myself. And if you would like to participate in an IoT demo event, we're also doing those, like the NYC IoT Fair last year. If you're a subject matter expert and you'd like to speak on IoT, or if you know of somebody who's a subject matter expert, please let us know. We'd be glad to do that. And let us know if you have any suggestions in general. We'll have another meetup coming up in October, and we'll announce that shortly. Before we go to the last slide, we're going to, Derek's going to come back for some hardware giveaway. So here's the contact information. I'll leave that up on the screen, and now I'll hand over to Derek, who's going to give away a few LinkIts. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the winner of the LinkIt one is, the first one is Miles Rose. Is Miles here? Miles 1, 2, 3 down. Okay. The next one is Jeff Golner. Woo-hoo. Okay, the next is Colin Goldberg.
Thank you.
Okay. The next is, we're going to give away 4 hardware kits. So the next one is Jora Song. Am I pronouncing it right? It's not here? Okay. And then, am I wrong? Ihor Seiko. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, I got one more to give away, so it's Michael McCombie. Is it here? Okay. The last one is Tagyuki UK. Okay. Congratulations.
Okay, great. So again, here's contact information on the board. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me or I think Derek will be around here, Peter and Rachel will be around, so thanks again for attending. See you later. Bye-bye.